Hey everyone, and welcome to the last video in our first mystery Ami along. Today we're going to be crocheting the final part, part M, as well as assembling whatever it is our creation happens to be. So grab your hooks and let's get started. The last piece that we're going to make in this series is piece M, and in order to do that you will need your 4mm hook and your main color yarn. We're going to start off round 1 with 6 single crochet in a magic circle. Then round 2 is 6 increases. Round 3 is 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeated 6 times. Then round 4 is 2 single crochet and an increase, repeated 6 times. Round 5 is 3 single crochet and an increase, repeated 6 times. Then round 6 is 4 single crochet and an increase, repeated 6 times. Round 7 is 5 single crochet and an increase, repeated 6 times. Round 8 is 6 single crochet and an increase, repeated 6 times. At the end of round 8, you should have 48 stitches in total in your round, and then round 9 is just going to be 48 single crochet. Round 10 is 7 single crochet and an increase, repeated 6 times. Round 11 is 54 single crochet. Round 12 is 8 single crochet and an increase, repeated 6 times. Rounds 13 through to 15 are each 60 single crochet. So that is 3 rounds of just single crochet. Round 16 is 19 single crochet, 1 increase, repeated 3 times. Round 17 is 63 single crochet. Round 18 is 20 single crochet, 1 increase, repeated 3 times. Round 19 is 66 single crochet. Round 20 begins with 15 single crochet. And then after those first 15 single crochet, we're going to repeat 5 single crochet, 1 increase 6 times. Now, if you're a bit like me, a bit brain foggy on occasion, you may want to put a stitch marker in the first of those 5 single crochet. So technically this is single crochet number 16 in the round, but it is the first stitch of the 5 single crochet, 1 increase repeat. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 single crochet, increase in the next stitch, and then we're just going to repeat that 5 more times, or 6 times in total. And after your 6th and final increase in the repeat, there should be 15 stitches left, and you're just going to single crochet into all of those. And then round 21 is similar to round 20. We're going to start with 15 single crochet, but then we're going to repeat 6 single crochet, 1 increase 6 times, but then again finish with 15 single crochet. And now at the end of round 21, we should have 78 stitches total in our round. Rounds 22 through to 27 are each going to be 78 single crochet. Round 28 is 11 single crochet and a decrease repeated 6 times. Round 29 is 72 single crochet. Round 30 is 10 single crochet and a decrease repeated 6 times. Round 31 is 9 single crochet and a decrease repeated 6 times. Round 32 is 8 single crochet and a decrease repeated 6 times. Round 33 is 7 single crochet and a decrease repeated 6 times. And then round 34, which is also our final round, is 6 single crochet, 1 decrease repeated 6 times. Now, after round 34 is finished, we don't need to leave a tail for sewing with this piece. So you're just going to cut a short yarn end and pull up with your hook. And then you want to weave this end in through the backs of your stitches. By now, we should have all of our pieces, part A all the way through to part M. And now that we have those, I can finally reveal what we're going to be making, and it is, drum roll please, my Yarnivore. And the last thing we need to do, obviously, is put it together. For the first step in this process, you're going to need part D, which we crocheted in video 2, and part M, which is the one we just finished crocheting then. We're going to take both of these pieces and add stuffing to both. Now we want to stuff them firmly, but we're not going to completely stuff them yet. We're going to add most of the stuffing to each of the pieces. We're then going to sew them together for about 3/4 and then add the remaining stuffing through the hole that we're going to leave. Alright, so I have most of the stuffing in both pieces. I'm going to take the yarn tail that I left on the body piece, which is what part D is, if you haven't figured that out yet. But I'm going to take that, and then I'm going to line up the open end of the body piece with the open end of the head piece. Each piece should have finished with 42 stitches, so 42 stitches here, 42 stitches here. We're just going to line up those 42 stitches and sew them together, sort of just 1 to 1. And you don't have to line up a specific stitch number with its corresponding stitch number in the opposite piece. It doesn't really matter because the body is a rounded piece. The shaping does have, the head does have a bit of shaping, but we can position all the other pieces that we've made to fit that later. So we don't have to line up the body and the head in a specific way. So just sew those two pieces together for about 3/4 of the way, and then stop when you reach about this point. We want to leave a gap here through which we can add more stuffing. Alright, so I've stopped right here. You can see the gap that I've left. Through that gap, I'm just going to add the remaining stuffing. Now, again, we want to stuff both of these pieces relatively firmly. And then when that's done, you're going to complete sewing. So we're going to close this gap on up. And then to finish off, just weave in the remainder of your yarn end through either the head or body to secure it. So the next thing that we're going to do is, well, it's kind of optional, to be honest. You don't have to do this. I just find it to be helpful. And that is to grab yourself just 2 or 3 pins. And then we want to locate the center of the face. So with the headpiece, there is some shaping involved. If you remember from rounds 20 and 21, we did those repeats of 5 single crochet and an increase and 6 single crochet in the increase, sort of in the middle of the round. They make up the front of the face. So if you locate those, so you just have to turn your piece, you'll be able to see where it bulges out a little bit. We want to find the middle of that. So if I turn my piece, I can see that it starts and stops about here. Right in the middle of that is the front of the face. And this is where you're going to put your pins. So I'm going to put one there and then just one more further up. And I might even put one here too. So that's just sort of to mark out the center of my face. This can be really helpful when it comes time to add, the eyes, the arms, the legs, any pieces that you want to be symmetrical or that have got to mirror each other. Again, not necessary, I just think it's pretty useful. And it can also be useful when it comes time to attach the next piece, which is piece A. Or it was piece A when we crocheted it, but it is the tail. So with the tail, there is 2 things you can do with it. You can put it directly on the back of your yarnivore, like so, or you can have it off to the side. So you decide where exactly you want to position your tail piece. Before you pin it in place, you will have to make sure that it is positioned correctly. The top of the tail curves upwards like that. So this is the top here. That's where you're going to place that. And we also need to add stuffing to this piece before we attach it to the body. So you are going to A, add stuffing, B, pin it to the body, and then C, sew it on. Okay, so I've added the stuffing. If you want your tail to help out with the balancing of your yarnivore, I'd recommend you pop down your yarnivore on a flat surface. So, just set it right down and then position it. And this works both if you want to place it on the side or at the back. So you're just going to rest the tail on the flat surface as well. Press it up against the body. I may have added just a little bit too much stuffing there. Let's get rid of you. Press it up against the body. And because I'm adding it at the back, I want to make sure it lines up with my pins here at the front. I'm going to press it against the body and then pin it in place. Confession, I lost at Yarn Chicken. I will have to get out my purple yarn again and fix up that later, but I'm going to continue on with the rest of the assembly first because my stupid mistake fortunately doesn't really affect you guys. So let's do that. All right, the next thing that we're going to attach is a combination piece. Earlier on in part B, we made 6 little pieces. They were the toes. Then in part J, we took those toes and created feet. So we should have 2 pieces that now look like this. And we're going to take those and we're going to pop them on the front here on either side of our center divider. And you want to space these like roughly 2 stitches apart. So we're going to pop the first one there. We're going to pop the second one there. Like that. And before you actually pin them in place, I would recommend doing what we did with the tail, and that is to sit your yarnivore down on a flat surface and then put the feet on the See, this is why we need to get things to balance right, and then put them on the front like that. So they too will help with the balance issues. Once you've got the feet pinned in place and your yarnivore is sitting, we're going to go ahead and sew both of these on. You don't need to sew around the entire foot. We're only going to sew up one side to like sort of the base of the toe, push the needle across the body to the opposite side, and then sew back down there to the start. Okay, so I've sewed my way all the way up to the base of the first toe. I'm going to insert my needle into the body and push it across. Might have to do this in like 2 or 3 stages. And you want your needle to emerge at the base of the toe on the opposite side. So right out of the stitch where you're going to start sewing into, like so. Then just sew down the opposite side here, and then we're just going to repeat that on the second foot. The next pieces that we're going to need are from videos 3 and 4. We did 2 part Gs. And then 2 part H's. Part H is the arms, part G is the claws. These require a little bit of preparation first before we can sew them onto the body. And all we need to do for that is take the claws, line them up over the tip of the arm. So the center claw should rest over round 1 or the magic circle. And we're just going to sew them down. You're going to do that with both of them. Once you've sewn on the claws, we're going to add stuffing to these 2 pieces, the arms, but these ones are only just going to stuff lightly. We don't want to put too much in because otherwise they will end up a little bit bulky, and we're trying to avoid that. Okay. And then once the stuffing is in place, we're going to pin them to the front of the body. And we're going to align sort of the inner corner here of the arm, so here, with the center toe. And we just want to angle the arms so the claws will be sort of facing up towards the nose. And this is just what I do for my pattern. If you want to place the arms in a completely different position, you are free to do so. So let's pop those there, like so. And I'm going to replicate that on the opposite side. All right, there we go. They look fairly even to me. Then we're just going to go ahead and sew the arms on. With the arms, like the legs, we don't need to sew on the entire thing. I'm just going to sew across the bottom here, but then I'm going to come in and put a stitch sort of up the top so I can sort of secure the claw area to the body as well. This is optional, but if you don't do it, the claws, will come forward or move forward just a little bit. So putting that stitch in is sort of to prevent that. And that's the arms done. Now we're going to need to bring in our black and white pieces. And for reference, they were parts C and K made in videos 1 and 5. Had to consult the notes on that one. But anyway, we should have 2 black pieces and 6 white pieces. And of the 6 white pieces, there is 2 of each size, large, medium, and small. And I'm sure a lot of you can guess what these pieces are supposed to be. And yes, they are eyes. Well, these technically are the eyes, and these are the pupils. Full disclosure, the original pattern for the yarn that you see in my background, that was made with chunky yarn and a 7mm hook. This pattern here is obviously made with a 4mm hook and a 3mm hook in the case of the pupils. For the most part, everything has translated well to that small hook size. But when it comes to the eye specifically, there is going to be not a lot of room if we do want to add all the pupil pieces. So I will show you how they are attached in the original version. So in that, the large pupil goes in the top inner corner. I'm going to put corner in air quotes because obviously it's a round piece. And then the medium piece usually sits off to the side with the smaller pupil sort of centered beneath those at the bottom of the piece. Now, if you look at that, it doesn't really fit. That is just a consequence of reducing the size of this pattern overall. So if you would like to, you can recrochet these pieces. I would recommend adding another round to the black eyes, maybe crocheting the pupils in a smaller size, or you can sew them on. They would fit if you maneuvered them a little bit, but obviously that's going to look a little bit silly, or at least in my opinion. So what I'm choosing to do in this case is just use the large pupils, and I'm going to, again, put them in the inner corner, again, corner in air quotes, like so. So you can see how I've positioned them there. And I'm just going to sew them down like that. So apologies for making you crochet the additional pupil pieces. But as I said, at the time, I'd only ever crocheted this pattern with a 7mm hook. And while everything else, the sizing has worked out, fairly well, at least so far, the same can't be said for the pupils. When the eyes are prepped, we're just going to pin those to the front of the face, spaced approximately, 5 or 6 stitches apart, and we're going to set them above the little bump here. But this is also one of the things that, due to the size difference, we may need to make some adjustments to. So let's get them on there first. All right, and then once your eyes are in a position that you're happy with, go ahead and sew them on as well. Now that the eyes are on, the last pieces we need to add are the spikes. Now, we crocheted the tail spikes in video 2, that was part E. We crocheted the large head spike, which was part F in video 3. We crocheted the medium spike, or part I, in video 4. And then the remaining 2 small head spikes were part L, and we crocheted those in video 5. And that is all of these pieces here. So with the tail spikes, we don't need to add any stuffing to those. We're just going to pop them along the tail. And I usually like to space mine about 2 rounds apart. So the first one will go on the very top of the tail, just 1 round back from the back. Actually, due to the smaller size, I'm going to bump that down to 1 round separating them. So I'm going to put the second one 1 round behind the first. And then the final one is going to be positioned 1 round behind that. So pin all of those in place and sew them on. And then the very last thing that we have to do is place on the head spikes. For those, you are going to need to add a little bit of stuffing to each. Not too much. Like with the arm pieces, we don't want to overstuff these. And then you're going to want to pin them to the head and order them from largest to smallest. And the largest one is going to sit sort of on the forehead here, roughly 2 or 3 rounds up from the eye. So I'm just going to center that in the middle there after I add the stuffing, of course. So I'm going to pop you about there. I might actually bring this up a little bit further so you all can see. So we've got about roughly 2-3 rounds up from the eyes, centered in the middle. And let's pin that in place. Now, I find it easier to do this one at a time. So I'm going to attach the large horn first. That's in position. I am now going to sew that. When that's done, we're going to grab the medium horn piece, stuff that, and pin that about, again, 2 or so rounds back from the first one. And then repeat the process, sew that on, come in and do the same with the small piece, or the first small piece, and then the second small piece. So we're doing the same thing over and over. We're just moving about 2 to 3 rounds back every time. And that concludes our very first Amigurumi adventure. This Yarnivore pattern, or I should say like this Yarnivore pattern, has been requested, multiple times over the... Has it been years now? I think I'm correct in saying years, but yeah, it's been requested multiple times. And it is one of the patterns that I've thought about creating a, pattern for on the channel before. But I thought this was a bit more of a fun and interactive way to provide that pattern. So yeah, I hope you all enjoy your Yarnivore. As for the rest of the patterns in this series, I'm not 100% sure what they're going to be yet, but there's a chance they're going to be ranging in size from like the smaller amigurumi right up to some of the really large stuff I've made. Because that's the case, I'm probably only going to make maybe 3 or 4 of these amigurumi per year. So I'm going to aim for roughly like every quarter, but again, it just really depends on the size of these things, because I'm going to do what I've done with this amigurumi here, and that is make sure I record, film. You want to go down, Teal? There you go. There you go. No, we can't play now. We can't play now. I'm going to make sure that I get the entire pattern recorded first before I start releasing it. So that way I will know information such as how much yarn you're going to need and things like that. And obviously that's going to take a while. So I have no idea when the next one will be out, what sort of pattern it's going to be, but it will show up eventually. Last thing before we go, if you have any more suggestions or thoughts on, how this Ami-along should be presented, or what sort of, I don't know, information that I should include, please pop those down in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Whether the next one is my regular Friday video or the next Ami-along, but as I said, that one's going to be a while.